In 1995, former Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara published a memoir that served as a public apology for the Vietnam War. His defense for the entire conflict rested on a single phrase, "If only we had known." This echoed a theory popularized by journalists like David Halberstam. The idea was that the best and the brightest leaders failed because of hubris and a lack of understanding. This narrative claimed that American planners failed to grasp Vietnamese history. They supposedly viewed Ho Chi Minh's revolutionary nationalist cause through a lens of ignorance, seeing a monolithic communist threat where none existed. For decades, this version of history comforted the American public. It framed the war as a tragic accident, a series of well-intentioned mistakes born from missing information. Modern historians now point to extensive, declassified internal records, audio tapes, and private memos that directly contradict McNamara's defense. Behind closed doors, these same leaders acknowledged they were entering a deeply challenging environment. They possessed a bleak realism about the conflict that they never shared with the public. Internal records show the architects of the Vietnam War had a sharp sense of reality. They knew exactly what they were doing and knew early on that victory was highly unlikely. This timeline of private despair began as early as 1951. Then Congressman John F. Kennedy privately doubted that military means could ever subdue Ho Chi Minh's nationalist forces. Despite these doubts, Kennedy substantially expanded American military involvement during his presidency, choosing to maintain the course rather than withdraw. By May 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson was voicing similar dread. In a private phone call, he asked his national security advisor, "What in the hell is Vietnam worth to me?" Johnson followed that private despair with a massive public escalation. In 1965, he launched Operation Rolling Thunder, dropping more bomb tonnage on North Vietnam than was used in all of Europe during World War II. During that same bombing run, Johnson told McNamara the truth. He saw no way of actually winning the war. As the first ground troops prepared to deploy, Johnson confessed to Senator Richard Russell that there was no daylight or hope down the road. "Not a bit," he admitted. Even McNamara acknowledged to British officials in 1965 that no one in the center of Washington actually believed a victory was possible. Why would the most powerful men in the world consciously plunge their country into a large-scale war they knew was doomed? The driver was a behavioral concept called the path of least resistance. In Washington, political optics drove the war more than military strategy. After years of public vows to succeed, the administration felt tapped. Backing down meant destroying their personal and national credibility. They convinced themselves to try new military measures because it was politically easier in the moment than admitting a massive geostrategic mistake. The administration chose a bloody, long-term military entanglement to avoid a short-term political embarrassment. This political calculus resulted in a relentless cycle of escalation. Every American deployment was matched by further deployments from North Vietnam. This pattern continued through multiple administrations, only drawing to a close in 1973 under Richard Nixon, who maintained his own pattern of public bullishness and private foreboding. The human cost reached 58,000 Americans and an estimated 3 million Vietnamese, the majority of them civilians. These lives were lost because leaders maintained a public facade of confidence while secretly harboring private doubts. We return to the central question. Why did the best and the brightest allow this to happen? The phrase, "if only we had known," is a lie. They did know. But intellectual prowess is useless without the political courage to act on bleak realities. Vietnam was a foreseen disaster. Millions died because leaders chose political optics over the bleak realities recorded in their own private memos.